So Google Voice. Google Voice is a really great feature. You can get a phone number from Google, or you can use your own. I choose to get a phone number. So the way I use this is the district requires I have a cell phone, but they took my cell phone away. So, but they require that I have one, and they pay me a small stipend. But I don't want to give them my personal cell phone number. So I signed up for a free Google Voice number. I got a cell phone. It actually matches the extension for my office phone, 4038. And when I have to give out my school cell phone number to people, the principal or various people for support, I give them my Google Voice number. What that does is it rings my personal cell phone. I can have it ring my office phone. It rings my computer. I can have it ring a number of phones. So it's a really great tool. It's a real live phone number, and it's free. And for 2012, and since its inception, it's been free to make and to receive calls within the U.S. and Canada. If you want to call out of the country, they have really ridiculous rates, like 2 cents to Mexico, and or whatever their rates are. I don't know what their rates are, but
they're cheap though.
Yeah, it's very, very inexpensive. And since its inception, it's been free. I'm waiting for them to start charging for it, but it's been free. But this has some, and it's got some neat tools. Everything goes through your account then. So when if someone leaves a voice message, I get an email, and it actually tries to transcribe the message. And if you talk clearly and slowly and use pretty good English, it transcribes very well the message. And then I get an email, so I can read it instead of having to listen to it. I get an email, I can click on it, and I can listen to it wherever I am within my web browser. So it's really cool. And if I'm really lazy, I can pull up my contacts and just click on a button, and I can tell it to call that person, and then it lets me choose the phone. So I choose my office phone. So I'll call Derrick, and which phone? Use my office phone. And my office phone rings, I pick it up, and then it calls Derrick, and I don't have to push any buttons. So it's for the truly lazy. So I keep my name private. You can send and receive text messages. So you know, a lot of teachers, I don't want to be texting my students, but some teachers are like, you know what, my students, they love texting, but I just don't want to give out my personal phone number, but I'm totally willing to text. The nice thing about that is that you don't have to give out your number. I don't know what the school policies are, but everything gets documented. So when I go into my Google Voice account, it's associated with my school account, and now I can delete things, but every message I send and receive, every phone call I send and receive, gets documented there, which is a real nice thing because I like to document when I'm calling vendors, and you can keep notes on conversations, you can keep voicemails. It's just a real good way, professionally, I think, to use the phone. And you can download the voicemails as MP3s, and as a teacher, I think it's actually, people are using this as a teaching tool. I'm going to skip some of this stuff just to save some time. I'm going to share this presentation. You can find all these. These are all just the Google videos I was going to go through, but I can save 5 or 10 minutes by not going through those. But what I want to show you is one of our teachers, and lots of other people are doing this, are using it as a fluency tool. So this is from one of the presentations that I told you about. We do this. This was from our spring school tech conference. And actually she links to the same Google Voice video. But what she does is she has the students call. She'll give them her phone number, her phone in class, uses the classroom phone if you have them. They can call from home. Phones are not a big deal anymore. It's usually inexpensive to call. I don't know what the calling is like here, but in Chicago everyone's got unlimited calling. But there's ways to get around it. But so, and these things can be downloaded as MP3s, embedded in websites, and you can send it to the student in an email.
What happens to the dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore moon run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or cut and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just stacks like a heavy load, but does it explode?
So there you can tell, the student's reading something. She's got a rubric and everything. She's grading for pitch and tone and whatever. And I don't know, at our school anyway, we have a lot of students who don't speak English as that primary language. So this is a really awesome tool. It's also great for foreign languages too. But just to give you a contrast here, here's another student reading the same passage. She was 21 seconds, he's 38.
What happens to a dream ceaser? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it's just sad like a heavy load. Or does it explode?
So you can see there the difference, and it's a great tool to give back to students so that they can hear what they sound like. So whether you can grade them how they did, or it can be done so they can monitor their own progress. You can post these on websites, especially if you use maybe the previous year's data. No one's going to know probably who the voice is, but this is what it should sound like. And this is, Johnny, this is what you sound like, and keep trying, and we're going to try to get you back up there. But it's just a great tool, a way to feed back to students how they're performing for this. So I don't know what you think about that, but this is what she comes up with in terms of a rubric, and this is all part of their curriculum. So they're grading for accuracy, rate, phrasing, smoothness. And then she's also able, she doesn't have to spend the time in class, like sitting the child down or taking them into the hallway. I mean, she could still be doing that, but the kids could be at home recording this, or anywhere where they have access to a phone. Along with math, I think maybe one of the slides for math use, people are using this because okay, how did you solve that problem? I hated those questions in math because I would have a real hard time writing something down, but if I could sit down and speak with you, I might be able to tell you the steps that I took to solve that problem. And some teachers will hear that and be able to like, oh, okay, here's where you went wrong or whatever. So there's different ways you can do it. It's not, it's not the end all be all, but it's just another Google app that you can use for educational purposes. Any questions on that?
Where I know some schools do it, and Carmen, this may apply to you, is that coaches are reluctant to give, like you said, their personal phone numbers or whatever, but they always tell them, now, if we're on trips, or Joy, this might apply to you too, if we're on trips, this is a number that you could call, but they only do it like when they're on, Joy's on speech trips over the weekend or whatever, and things like that, but it allows you to not give you, if an emergency comes up, you can call this number, then I'll get the phone call, but it's only active when we're on trips. And sometimes but I do know some coaches that go through and use Google Voice. One unfortunate thing we have here is we cannot get a local Google Voice dial number.
Really?
You cannot. You have to get Springfield, or I think you can get one, but you can't get a local number here, which is sort of a blessing. For example, my local number is in Joplin, which is where my mother lives, and my wife, her local number is in Ohio, where her family lives. So her family that don't have cell phones, they just dial the local number in Ohio and it rings her cell phone here. So it's sort of a great way to get around long distance calling. Yeah, especially if you get family.
Other uses for this are kids are using it to, and we don't have kids signing up for their own accounts for this, but they'll call into a teacher's Google Voice number on a field trip. So I'm at the museum or whatever, or kind of as you can use it for documentation. You could use it for a podcast, so we're recording. I could be recording right now, and then I could upload it to a website, for a podcast type thing. Interviews, if you want to. I don't know. Can you record phone call conversations? I think you can record phone call conversations.
You can. Here's a limitation in that. I actually use Google Voice as the back end for my business number for FireLogic, and I allow texting and everything through that. But if you do want to do recording of phone calls, the only caveat is the person has to call you. You can't call the person. So they call you, and you can hit, I think, 4. It'll say call recording started. It actually does record it. You can go back and view the recording. right on your Google Voice account, so it's nice, but that only caveat of they have to always ring you if you want to do that.
And for those of us here locally, by the way, if you have a microphone on your computer, when our school phones go down, I use it all the time. So I use Google.
It's nice. I actually make most of my long client phone calls or conference calls not on my cell phone, but just on my headset sitting on my computer, and it's much clearer than any cell phone could ever give me. So.
Right, and I do the same thing too. Sometimes when I call the other buildings, it's all integrated into my email, so I just put on the headphones, and sometimes I don't even do that. I just use the speakers.
I just use a speaker on the computer.
Right, and so I'm calling people in the hallway, probably not weird, but anyway, we'll move on. But there are a ton of applications and lots of different uses for them, and I just wanted to show you that one. I thought it was pretty neat. Okay, collaborating. We're going to use. Do I have the right thing? Oh, I covered this yesterday. So we're using comments. I have a video here. I don't remember what the video is. Let's take a quick look again. I'm feeling kind of compressed, so. Oh, okay. This is just how example of a student using a form to collaborate, running for a student council position. So he submitted a Google form, he's running for president, and now he's going to get his campaign team together. He's writing a speech. So he's doing all the work himself right now. And he says, I can't do it alone. He's invited his friends. That was the in-app chat feature. So notice how everybody gets a different colors and see when they're playing. Now using Google Drawings. On the weekend. So that one always gets me pumped up with that music.
Yeah.
But that's just a quick video there on how to. But we covered a lot of this material yesterday.
Usually something similar with writing.
Yeah, kids really like that collaboration in Google Docs. At our district, once teachers start using the Google Docs with kids, they really enjoy it.
Okay, back to my boring slides here. Google Sites.
And they get ticked off each
You
other.
could play music.
Okay, so what are some of the advantages here of Google Sites? It gives us a lot of security and system controls we can control. Students have access to sites, but they can't make them public. I know that's a concern for some schools. Some schools say, hey, being able to, we're all publishers now in this new, in this 21st century, world that we live in. Why not allow our students to publish out there and show the world, show the community what they're capable of doing? So that's more of an organizational decision, but it gives you the security controls, so that you can manage how students can interact. Is it just within the organization, or is it out to the public in the world? Google Sites is simple, pretty simple to use. I referenced Dreamweaver yesterday. No one seemed to know that, so you might not have an appreciation for it. But if you've used any kind of HTML web editing before, this is basically, has anyone used wikis, like a wiki site type thing? Very much wiki-like, except for it has a lot of more graphical tools than the wikis we're used to a few years ago, or more like a meme. So it looks more like a Microsoft Word or like a Google Docs, look to it with the tools and everything. Anytime access anywhere, again, as long as you're on the internet. And it doesn't matter what computer you have. So you can do this work on a Chromebook, you can do it on a Mac, PC, It doesn't really matter as long as you have an internet connection, you can get out to the web. So I was just going to jump right into it. A couple of key things before I do, actually. Just some quick tips on doing web pages. You know, who are you building a website? What are they looking for? It's real easy to create a website, especially kids. You know, they're just putting a million pictures on there, and they're doing all kinds of distractions with music and animations and stuff like that. So, you know, let's keep it simple. Keep the colors and you know, just pleasing, and you know, not very different colors, but you know, you can choose themes and stuff like that to help you along. Don't overdo it. You know, everyone thinks that my web page has got to be really packed. Use subpages. You know, everything doesn't have to go on one page. If it fits, great. That's fine. You don't need to make it more complicated than it is. But let's use some white space so that it should be easy to use. It should be easy to navigate around. And the breadcrumbs are ways of linking back, and that's kind of built in terms of being able for people to manage around easily. So you got to know who your audience is, what kind of information you're putting, make it clear and simple to understand, and then people are going to want to come back. And again, you'll have access to these slides, so you can come back here and see some people taking notes. And this is just the beginning of it. You can go on the web and do a search. You know, if you're going to do an assignment where students are doing web pages, you may want to find some reference materials out there, and there's a lot of YouTube videos, and there's a lot of references out there on how to, you know, some of the fundamentals of website creating. Again, you probably don't want to teach that, but you might want to offer that as references so that kids, you know, are learning something along the way in addition to, you know, the content you're trying to get them to learn. And sites is a great way for students to demonstrate that they have mastered or understand the knowledge. So if they're supposed to read something, if you cover a unit, they can go in and they can build a site, and they can put in the elements. You can create a rubric. You know, you have to show these elements. You know, they can really demonstrate to you that they understand the material. And kids like this kind of thing in general. You know, it's really engaging. It's native to what they're used to doing, and it gives them options. A lot of teachers I talk to, I like to give options. Fine, if you want to do a traditional book report, that's fine. But if you want to write some stuff up, you know, and put it in a Google Doc and embed it in a website and throw some other elements in there, it's kind of like creating a poster almost. And there's lots of different sites to do that as far as, you know, presentation type things, and we'll cover a few of those later. But Google Sites is a great way to pull things together. I can pull in spreadsheets, I can pull in docs, I can add videos, I can put in pictures. I can do a lot of different things that show both, you know, content created by other people to demonstrate I know something, or content I've created myself, or I've created with team members, because I can share these sites just as I could any other document in terms of collaboration. Okay, these are just some things that I'm going to try to keep in mind as I cover. Starting a site is fairly simple. Let me go back to...
And actually, if you want to see an example really quickly, Michael, you want to show them... go to this website really quick.
I can do that, but I do have an example too
Okay,
that I'm going to
sure.
cover. Is that a good thing to start with? Or?
You can keep going.
Okay. So I've been in here playing around already. So when I clicked on sites from my Google Apps up here, again, it's going to pop down in here probably in the next couple of weeks or a month. But right now, I've got my apps menu bar across the top here. So I clicked on sites. It brought me to here. I see sites that I've already created. Here's the same thing. All the apps are pretty much the same. I got my search bar up here because your whole organization may have a lot of sites. So I can search my sites. I can search all sites in the domain. So right now it's not too complicated because I only have 2 sites. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit create. So I can, you know, for those who like to pick, you know, themes and whatnot, I don't blame you, especially for a website. They have a lot of different templates. You, as a organization, you can create your own templates and save them. I won't get too much into that, just know that that's an option. So if you're a teacher and you want kids to follow a certain format, you can go in and create like a mock-up web page, maybe with all the pages and the areas that you want them to fill in, and then save it as a template, and then and share that with your students, so that way they have a starting point. Because maybe, especially in the beginning, maybe you don't want them to go in there and just start goofing around, because you know how kids are. They'll spend 20 hours making it look great, and then they only have 2 hours to put content in there. Maybe you don't want them to do that, so templates are great for that. But in our case, we're just going to go to some examples here, and I'm going to show you.
If you did a template and saved it, how would the kids find it?
You could either then create a new website based on that template, or when they go to browse the gallery, that should be here, and I don't know why there aren't any here. There should be like a Dallas thing.
But since we don't have any,
that very well could be why. I don't think it's a feature or anything that we have to turn on or off. I thought I saw it earlier, but I don't see it right here. But yeah, when you have your own templates, they will show up here. Okay. And if they don't, for some reason, it's a setting someplace. But I think once you create one, they will start to show up here. But I'm just
just check custom templates are turned on for the district, so that should be an option.
Was that a yes? They are.
Yes,
they
are.
Turned on, yes.
Okay, so I don't know. I'm just going to, and no, that one's really boring.
Well, because we don't have anybody that's done one.
Well, no, I tried to do one.
I'm just going to pick anything here. I got an example with this classroom site later that I'm going to show, but I'm just going to say soccer team. Okay, so this is, I can preview the template. Yeah, I like how that looks. You can also start from scratch. You don't have to choose a template.
Okay, well, when you're in there and you say, yeah, I like how that looks, I found one, yeah, I like how it looks, how do you...
Use template. I'm actually not going to use a template because I have another example where I've chosen a template. So, oops, I just got myself out of sites. I'm going to create a site. I'm going to use a blank template. I'm going to give it a name. Chromebook training site. Notice this is the link to my web page. I can select the theme for the web page. So this is a little different than a template. So I just want to have a real nice simple theme. Let's just go with the notebook. So you have some basic options that you choose. Now, when you're all done filling in this information, simply click Create Website up here. So, okay, so it's got my site name. Notice it's given me some basic navigation. I've got my home page here. I've got the name of my name of the page up here, name of the site. I can search the site. I got my edit button, add new pages, and more. And I'm going to go through all these things. Here's the share button, just to show you. It's pretty much the same thing. Now, about sharing. Again, sharing is pretty much the same across all apps, except for when there's reasons to have different levels or different. Some apps have specific sharing options. Enable page level permissions. I've never used this, and I can think of reasons why you would want to. Mostly, we share the same traditional way. I can change the visibility, and I can add owners, or I'm the owner. I can add people that can manage this website. So if I have a team working together, someone can set it up and add the other kids, and then they can all manage this website together. If for some reason you wanted to create a page maybe you want to do a classroom portfolio. So you could set up a website and you could create a page for each kid, and then you could do enable page level permissions, and you can give each kid access to manage their own page. I've never done it. I don't know how. I like to keep things simple and not have to manage a lot of permissions for a lot of different people. And honestly, I'd probably prefer students create their own sites and do their own portfolios, so that they have, for every year, maybe they have a page, and every year has a tab for each class that they want to keep an online portfolio, so they can upload their docs to it, they can link their docs to it, they can put their presentations in there, and they can build up a portfolio. And if they start when they're freshmen, when they leave, especially like if they're in certain things, band or they're artists or whatever, they can scan their stuff in. But even if they're going to a more traditional, a university or something, they can create a website that they have documentation. One thing to remember, though, is that all of this information is in their domain, so when you delete their account, it'll be gone. So when you're talking about portfolios, you may want to encourage students to maybe then copy the site into a personal, that'd probably be a good way, right, Derrick? They could create their own personal Gmail account and then share this with their personal Gmail account, and therefore be able to maintain it after their district account was deleted when they were when they move on past their 4 years here.
As long as they allowed they allowed their personal account to become an owner, they have to become an owner.
And I don't think you can change ownership to outside the domain.
You can.
I got an error when I tried to do that.
Oh, really? It's a security setting that can be adjusted, but
But that is something just to think about. So I don't know if you're doing online portfolios, or thinking about doing them.
Boy, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I know that. I know that's kind of out there. Everyone's kind of talking about it. I'm not sure how many people are doing it, exactly how they're doing it, but you could definitely use sites to do that sort of thing. So, so this is sharing. So again, pretty much the same as all the other apps, but there is that nuance of being able to be able to share it with specific people. So I'm going to run through some of the menus here, and then I'm going to show you one of the teacher templates that actually I think is a pretty nice one, and then show you how that works more in practice. So I can go ahead and edit whatever page I'm looking at because I have the rights to do so, simply by clicking the edit page. If I don't have rights, I don't get the edit button. So when you send someone to this website, if they don't have rights to edit it, they're not going to see the edit button, and then they just view it. And notice that it looks different. When I'm editing it, I don't exactly see it as the way it's going to be displayed. So I can do, here's the title of the page. I have room here. This is set up, there's like 4 or 5 different page templates. So I can have my site have a template, but when I create pages, they're based on templates also. And this is a simple web page template. It's the most basic, easiest one to use and understand. So in this, I can insert all kinds of objects. Images, I can highlight text and make them links. Table of contents, I mean, you can read through this stuff. I'll get to some of these things in the other example, but some of the page types, like announcements, I can post to, and then I can then take those posts and embed them into the page. So maybe I have a page where I'm posting lessons, and it's on its own specific page, but within the main page, let's say this is my home page, I want to embed recent posts from that page. And I'll show you how that works in a little bit. This AdSense stuff and gadgets you probably don't really care for. Real powerful tool right here, calendars. So yesterday I covered calendars. I created a classroom calendar maybe for my class. Within the settings of that calendar, I can get an embed code. And actually, we don't even need that anymore.
Nope.
When you, that's right. They've even made it easier since when it first came out. When I click calendar, it's going to pop right into my account since I'm logged in as me, and it's asking me which calendar do I want to embed. Since I don't have any choices really, I'll just choose this one. And it's going to ask me questions like how big do I want it to be, I'm going to go a little bit smaller. I'm going to go like 300 because I want it to fit there. And I want it to be default month view. Maybe if it's a lesson plan, I want to choose a agenda view. I can control what options the viewer has. And I can include the title. I can change it if I want. I'm just going to keep it simple. So now, that doesn't look like a calendar, does it? It's because I'm editing the page, and I know I'm editing the page because it has a save button up here. I'm going to simply save that page, and now I see that web page as the user will. And it's the
It's an agenda view, right?
it's an agenda view. So if I go back a few days, so you can see the different views have different advantages. So this is the agenda view. So if these were a list of assignments I had per day, they would see what they have coming up. Notice the navigation is right in there for the user. I can pop right to today. I can look at the month view, the week view. I can print it.
That way, if you have parents that need to know, instead of you having to tell them, they can just go look.
Oh, look at my calendar.
And
It's on the calendar.
really cool thing here, see this down here? If I click on this and I'm logged in as, say, my personal Gmail account or my student account, I have the option to add this calendar into my account. Now I don't even need to go to your web page, which may be a bad thing because you want people to go to your web page, but it gives the user the flexibility, like, hey, I need to go to this web page every once in a while, but I also just want to go in my calendar view and have this information in my calendar. So if I have 5 classes and all 5 teachers use this, when I look at my calendar, I see all of my assignments and everything I got going on for basketball and this and band, and if everyone does their calendar, I can import all these calendars into my account.
And by the way, we already have this set up for the school district, so whenever Rachel goes in and changes something on the school calendar, it immediately pushes out to a Google Calendar. So you can do that for the high school, middle school, Mallory, Dallas County Career Center. You can do it for
And that's the best thing about this for a web page is when you go in and you change any of this information, add something, delete something, change something. If I go visit that web page 5 seconds later, it's updated. I don't have to go back to my web page and update that information because it's embedded right in there. It's pulling that information right from your calendar. So it's always up to date. Makes it a little bit easier for you to manage. Okay, so I'm going to go back to edit mode, and I'm going to go back to insert. So I did that, so I can, same thing, same concepts. I can add documents, I can add maps. So here's our, you know what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to cancel this. I'm going to add a new page. And I'm going to call this the help page. And I'm going to, I'm going to leave it for now as a web page. I just want to show you how to insert a document. But here, when I create a new page, I can change my page types. If you really want to get fancy, you can create other page types and save them as templates.
And that announcements option, that's Google. That's the Google Sites term for blog. So you can make one blog or multiple blogs on one site for yourself, and then that's how you can, sort of, instead of using something like Blogger, you can just do a blog right within your Google site. Again,
it's another way of doing the same thing, and you have to choose which tool you think works best for you. So there's lots of options. Now it also gives me some navigation options. I want to put it under my home page. I do have the options of choosing, once I start to get a complicated website, I'll have a list of pages. I can choose to put it wherever I want. So it's pretty easy to create. I'm just going to put it there. It should take me automatically, once that page is created, to my help page. It automatically put me in edit mode. I didn't have to click anything because it's assuming I created the page. I want to edit it. Now what's great about inserting Google Documents is that I don't have to go back and manage the web page. If once I embed this Google Apps and Chrome Help, which I shared with you this morning, again, I can change some of these things. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to save it. Now my doc is actually embedded in there. So if I go back and edit my doc, or my team goes back and edits my doc, the web page is updated automatically. I don't have to go back to the web page, re-upload the Word document, re-upload the PDF. It's just, it's that. And there's lots of different ways you could do this. You could also put the link to a document there. You could do the same thing. So if you don't want to take up all this space, you know, there are other tools that we have to do this, and just
And one thing, just a caveat, keep this in mind, if you're going to be embedding documents within your site, you have to remember what kind of visibility, what kind of sharing settings you have for that document. If it's set for private, you're going to embed it, but it's going to show up with an error. Could not load for anyone else. Because it's set for private, for only for you. So you have to make sure your sharing settings are properly set for any document you're going to put on a page.
right, and the doc settings for this is it's shared with the organization. So if someone from the public came to this page, they wouldn't be able to see it, but if you're logged in with your account, you'd be able to see it. Another way to do it is I could also just post the link to this document from the published. I don't want to confuse you, but when I publish a document, whatever kind of document, by publishing it, it makes it a web page. So if I put that link here, people could click on it and see the doc, but they wouldn't have any rights to edit it. So that's
It'd
it.
basically be like what you have up there already, those links.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could just link to it if I wanted to instead of, right.
If you publish the document, is it then available to anybody?
Yes, when you publish a document, and we covered this yesterday, when you publish a document, it's a live web page that everybody has rights to view. But if I've shared it with you, if you're logged into your account and you go to that document, you'll have rights to edit it. But if you click on the published link, you would only have rights to view it. So it's a very specific link to that public document. It doesn't give anyone rights. You'd have to go to the other version, so to speak. Okay. Some of the other, and I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna show you some of the other web page types when I go through a specific teacher example. But I want to go through some of the navigation and functionality. Notice I told it to put it under my home page. I can edit my sidebar navigation if I want. And it can get pretty complicated. I want to keep it simple. Here's the navigation. I can come in there, I hit edit sidebar. Now I want to hit navigation. So I can call this something different. I tend not to change this. Right now I'm having Google automatically organize my navigation. If I don't want that for some reason, I click that off, and now it's going to show me a list of all the pages I created, where they're at, and I can choose to move things however I want. So I select the page and I can move it. Now it's on the same level as the home page, or I can make it a sub-page. And if I had a lot of pages here, I could move things up and down. I can make the home page a sub-page of the help page. Doesn't make any sense, but I can do it. I can also add a page right from here and tell it where I want it to go.
Add URL, see the little button where it says add URL, you can add links to external websites. So say someone else had some great blog post or news article, you can put it right into your navigation as long as you can get that web address copied from whatever site that is.
Right, so if I want to link another teacher's website, maybe we co-teach or something, I could get the URL from their website, put in Mrs. Brown's webpage, and then put the URL, and then it shows up. I'm going to cancel this. It'll show up right here in your navigation.
Or even if you want to put like a link to the district calendar or something like that. Yeah.
Anything.
Yep. Lots of different options and things to do.
Not yet.
So going up to the More feature, I can see revision history. Here's an important thing. If you have a lot of people collaborating, or or you want to keep tabs, like students are maybe working on a year-long project site, or a quarter or semester-long or 3-week-long project site.
I cannot delete.
If you want to keep tabs on what they're doing, make them share that document with you, or you create it as an owner and share it with them, and then you can subscribe to page changes. So you can tell it, hey, I want to get an email every day that there's a page, or I want to get an email instantly every time there's a change to this website. So students can be going about their business, maybe they're collecting research, maybe they're working in groups, and then maybe once a week they're going on and they're making changes. But you want to monitor their progress and say, hey, team 1, you guys are a little bit behind everybody else here. So you don't have to go and physically or view these web pages all the time. You can have Google contact you when there's been a change. Oops. I can go into page settings. So this is for the particular page I'm on. I can allow attachments if I want. Now some of the page types have various combinations of these, and that's why they're, that's why the documents page allows documents, because it allows attachments. But you can make a page any way you want. So if I want to allow comments on a particular page, I just check this, and now I can comment. This is a great tool. So if students are posting, maybe you have a poetry project, students are posting their poetry up there and you want to allow comments, you create a page that allows comments. So students can, critique each other's work.
I think you'd rather do that. I think you'd rather do a collaborative class.
Here's page template. So if I create a page that has a specific format, I can save it as a template, or I can go in and I can change existing templates. So page actions, when I click on more, page actions, I'm changing the structure or the look or the feel, or notice that I'm subscribing to page changes. That's only for this page. So I don't have to monitor the whole website. I can just monitor certain pages of the website. Because maybe I don't care about what some groups are doing, but I do about other groups. So I'm going to manage those particular pages. So these are actions that apply to this page only. These are actions I can apply to templates. And here's my site actions. So whatever I do down here, I can subscribe to sites. So anytime something is done anywhere on the site, I can subscribe to that, or I could do it per page. I can also manage the site from here. So if I want to go in and change the site name, I can add a description. I can put it in a category. I can see recent site activity. I can go to pages. I can see the full structure of my website. I can see what attachments are associated with my site. And I think this would be a good time for me to jump over to my other presentation. My other site, because that site actually has some stuff to it. So this is a site that's available as a template. Actually, a lot of templates I don't really like, but I stumbled across this one, and I like this one. It's a teacher website. And you don't have to do this, but you could take this as a template and modify this as meets your needs. But it's a pretty good start compared to a lot of things that I've seen. But she's created some basic pages, homework assignments. She has extra credit, contact me, word of the week, which is an announcements page. I'll show you how that works. I added this page on. And she's got a little bit information about here. Click to read about her. So she has, if we go to the, you can see the overall structure. If I go to Manage Site, I can look at the pages, and I can see all the pages that are part of this site. So this is a more complicated site than the one I was showing you. So now by clicking on any one of these pages, like, ooh, what's class announcements about? This takes me to the class announcements page. This is an announcement, the page type announcements. So if you go into Google Help, you can see all the different page types. This one's announcements because it allows posts. And that's what Derrick was talking about. This is a pretty nice blogging feature. It's real nice.
I love this one, and this is the one I've been trying to make something happen with for 2 days, this very one.
Okay.
Okay, and so I have managed when I followed your directions and went to the bottom and did the edit, the sidebar, and then I went to that section and went to navigate it. It did let me change Miss name to my name, but the section under Meet Your Teacher, how do you get to change something there?
This information are a little lower.
I'll meet your teacher. I think she meant
The section on Meet Your Teacher with the picture and all that.
because originally I tried navigating this site last summer, and
Okay.
I had trouble with some of the cyber stuff. And
Yeah, I
so
can't make
I
it
created a
change.
different page.
Okay.
How do you do that?
That's a very good question.
It
Thank
could be
you.
it could be a separate because there's a navigation portion. There's other things you can put in your sidebar.
We're going to just dissect this website a little bit more.
Okay.
So let me cover this and then we'll go right to
Okay.
your question. So this is an announcements page. She called it class announcements. Now in these templates, a lot of times they put in these tips. You can go in and edit these out because I can click on edit here and I can edit this page. Now if I'm a teacher and I've already created this page and I want to just do a new post, I would simply click new post. So there's two things here going on here. I can edit the way this page looks, feels, works, where it's at as the manager of this website, but I can also use it as a teacher once I've created it to post my information. So now maybe it's Tuesday's homework. And actually she has a homework thing, but I can do this. And the thing that I can choose to allow attachments here. And now the thing that they change the format on me, and I'm like, how do I post this? And there's a save button up here. And if you want to save it as a draft and come back later, I don't believe it gets posted when you save it as a draft. And I'll click save and go back to my viewer mode. And now now I see
your
it.
announcements, do you have to go into the page to do them though?
You don't have to edit the page, but you have to go to where you can get to the post.
Okay.
So this is class announcements. So now notice that these were the previous posts, and now my post is here. I have rights to edit this page, so I can edit my own posts. I think if you allow comments, then students can comment like, hey, great, I understand steps 1, 5, and 4, but I don't understand steps 2 and 3. So if you allow posts, students can do that. Maybe you do want to do that, maybe you don't. But this is the class announcements page. Now notice when I go to the home page, I have recent announcements, and now Tuesdays. Notice how I just get I'm just getting a sub listing of what's on this class announcements page. And the way this works, and I talk about dissecting it, if I go to edit this home page, notice that I'm posting recent announcements from these various pages. And the way I do that is when I created this page. Oh, I put in my little crossword puzzle. That's how you embed stuff. Let's go ahead and let's create a new page.
So you went to, where'd you going to do that?
To create a new page,
Yeah.
that's the plus arrow right on top of your bar. Let me just create this. I'm going to create this as I'm going to create it as a web page. And then I'm going to didn't I create it as a web page? Oh, because page type is for some reason it's allowing this template must allow attachments on a basic web page. So I can turn this off, and we'll do that next. It kicked me right into editing mode. I want to insert recent posts, and then I can choose any of the web pages that I created as announcements pages, when these pages were set up, they were all created as type announcements. So now, once I've done that, I can insert recent posts from any of these web pages. And then I can choose how many posts to display. So this is how I took information from my homework page, my class announcement page, my upcoming events page, however I want to segregate out my various announcements. I could just have one announcements page too. I don't have to get complicated. But if I want to break things up and create 3 or 4 different announcement pages, then on the home page I link each one of them in a little box. And that's how they set up this template on the main page. They're actually showing all 4 of these announcements embedded into the home page. So you have some other choices there. I'm just going to choose one real quick. Let's do word of the week. So now when I save it, now whatever I post, I go to my word of the week page and I post an announcement. Whenever I come to my test post page, I will see all the recent posts from word of the week. Does that make sense?
But
I don't.
If you're going to post something every day, do you go there?
You
Well,
go.
it doesn't let you do anything when you go there. So.
You have to go to the original page.
Right, but you do have to go to the page, the announcement
Yes.
page to make your announcement.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't even have to show this. You know, if I could have 5 different announcement type pages that I don't even have linked here anywhere on the page. As long
Right.
as I know how to get to them, I can just on my home page insert
The
the
link.
post, insert posts.
I think that would
Okay.
be easier.
So now if if I do want to go to all the word of the weeks, I could put the navigation here. There's no right or wrong way. It's, again, you got to think about your users, what information they need access to, how do they want to see it. But I think word of the week, that's an awesome thing. I mean, we do word of the week, don't we? We might have a definition of the day. You know, maybe you're doing a unit, and part of it is, you know, there's always a vocabulary, even for math. You know, there's always a vocabulary piece to that. So when they go to your web page, you know, they see word of the week or word for the unit. You post as many as you need to. Now there's a history. I can always go back to this page and I can see all of them. So when I'm reviewing for the test, it's all right there. Okay, so I think there's a specific question. You wanted to know how to edit Meet the Teacher, the picture.
Yeah. That whole section, right?
All right,
Yeah,
well,
I can't make anything.
I'm going to go to manage the site because I don't know, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go to pages, and this is going to show me the structure of the whole site. And which one?
Go to site layout. In other words, go to site layout on the bottom left.
On the bottom here, there's site layout.
And it's one of those text boxes that are showing the sidebar. You're going to have to edit, go into them, edit them, and see which one it is.
Okay.
Probably the one
Yeah,
right
this
under
is one
navigation.
thing that I don't like about it. See, that was a sidebar item.
Yeah,
So-
I went to the side. I got to that, and I went into navigate.
And I don't know why we can't have different like names here. It would make it easier. But I'm gonna have to go back into those, like Derrick said. And I just gotta take my chances.
There it is. That's the one.
So I wish it would put the title there instead of text. So that's a limitation. Maybe we gotta get on the, go to the, and make a suggestion for Google. But yeah, this is how I would do it. So what they did was they just inserted a picture. So you could change this if you want. Notice there's a link here. So it's a simple web page embedded into the sidebar. Excuse me. Good question. But by using this more, going down to the site section here and manage site, I can really drill down into this web page. I can see the pages, I can see my attachments, So if I want to upload something, or I want to delete something, or download something, and depending on who has rights to this, students can upload, students can comment. You have a lot of different options that are available. And down here is the layout, and this is you can really dive into this on how wide and your page is and everything. I want to kind of get bogged down because the templates are pretty good at picking those things for you. But if you do need to move things over, I want to make the sidebar a little bit bigger or something, I can go in and change that. If I want to change the logo, I can do that. But the most important thing is probably the sidebar navigation. If I want to add an item, I just click here. I can tell it what kind of item. So that's what she did, or the person did. They added a text item. And that's why it has these generic names, because those are the sidebar item types essentially. You can also post recent activity, my recent activity. So when you go to the site, they have like little gadgets. So if I want to add a countdown,
A lot of teachers like to put countdowns to test day. Kids go on the pages, see
so
10 days till the test.
Final exam. I want my kids to really be sweating it out. So I'm going to put down it's tomorrow. I'm going to save it. Always make sure you go to a save button. Otherwise you'll be doing it again. But now, there it is. And you can obviously change the way things appear by editing that sidebar navigation. But here's days until final exam. Now when I do the scheduling for the tech conference we do, I can add something like this, 20 days to the tech conference. Teachers are so excited. Actually, they prefer to do that than to do all the other fun activities they usually actually do during in-service. But a few teachers used to wear a button in our district that said, the worst day teaching is better than the best in-service day, or something like that. But we know these things. We have to do these things, so we just got to do them. Okay, so I think let's see how much time we have. We're at a little bit more than an hour. I talked about sharing and permissions. I covered that already. That's in this managed site.
Michael, how do they know if, say that I set up pages or web pages on the site and give permission to kids to go there and do things, how do they know which page to go to that's theirs? Do I have to tell them, or?
You mean when you do page level?
Yes. Or, whatever pages that they're working on, as well as page level permission.
I think if you wanted to be general and you set up 5 pages, group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you could just tell kids, say, you guys edit page 1, it's more on the honor system. If I enable page level permissions, I'm going to assign people or groups to specific pages. They can go to the whole website, but they'll only get that edit button on the actual pages that they have rights to edit. So you'll tell them, they'll probably get an email notification, you have rights to, you've been shared with you. So again, basic navigation. I go to my site, I have rights to edit, so I get the edit button. I can add pages, I can share, I can edit the sidebar right here. If I edit sidebar, that's always an option. It takes me right to that. I can move these things up. If I want my countdown to be higher up, I can simply drag it up higher. Now when I save it, and go back to my web page. Oh, it says it's been saved. Now my thing is up here. So pretty easy to move things around. So again, edit, new page, share. Then I can drill into this particular page under page actions. I can change my page template or save this page template. Let's say create a really specific cool page. I can save it as a template. And then I can get to my site actions. manage sites, and from there I can really drill it down into this website. Okay, I know. I mean, we could spend hours going over this. We don't have the time. Are there any specific questions? I think I probably always get off my little presentation and. Oh, okay. Page types. So these aren't really good examples, but they were the best I could find at the time. So these are the various page types. The unstructured web page, which is what I mostly use, the announcements page, which I showed you when you post to it. You know, things post on that page on chronological order. I can embed those basically in my web, you know, in another part of my web page. I can post files. It's hard to see that.
Now, the posting files, would that involve documents you wanted the students to have or documents they were sending to you?
It could be either.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might have, you know, a poem that you post or something like that, and everybody upload your interpretation, you know, write a 3-paragraph essay and interpret it and upload it. I probably wouldn't choose to do it that way, but yeah, you could do it that way. But as long, and I think you have the rights to get, you know, you can configure how you want this to work. Everyone can post, only certain people can post, only I can post. And then if you have rights to post, when you go to that page, you will see these buttons. If you don't have rights, then you can just download. So like this is a perfect example, you know. I never get to fill permission forms, you know, but if the teacher posts them to the website, I can print them myself at home. So I'll get the note, hey, you know, you haven't turned it in yet. And I'm like, well, I haven't seen it yet. So I'll just go right to the website, I'll download it, and then I can send it in with my child. So
And I just think the groups option or collateralized classroom or something's got to be easier than that.
I agree.
It's just sort of
Just from what I'm looking
yeah.
at.
And yeah, and I'm just showing you the options. If you know, there are lots of ways to do similar things. So, you know, and some people prefer one over the other, or you might have to do something a certain way. So these are just the various ways of doing things. And,
Now, if we already have a website on the Fusion thing that we have at the school, can we just can we merge them?
I don't think you could really merge them. I mean, if you wanted to create
Create a new site, delete the one you have.
yeah, if you wanted to create if you want to create a Google site and you want me to make it where when they click on the link to the School Fusion site, it goes to your Google site, I can do that. So,
well, yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Where can I
No.
get? How do I tell them where it is?
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. What a lot of districts do is they have a standard district web page, and every teacher gets a web page. And a lot what I see happening now is that's a portal, right? We're not going to change that. When parents need to know information, they're not going to know your long, you know, Google Docs URL website or whatever product you're using. So what I tell teachers is make your website, use whatever product you want, and go to your district web page. You usually have an option to edit your information, like your name, your office number, your contact, whatever, and then you just put a link. So it's like a portal. I know that my son has 5 different classes. I can find all the teachers on the district website, the school website, and then they all have their links to their pages right from there. So I look at it as a portal that way. I don't know if you guys work exactly that way, but you don't want teachers to go, well, one teacher's going Google Sites and one teacher's using wikis and one teacher's using Nings. It's better to bring that all in under the school website where I can go and find basic information about my teachers. And then if they might have 5 different links. I might have a Ning for one class and a wiki for another, but I can post all that in one central portal place.
then we just create a link to jump to that site. So
Yeah, so if you want to keep doing what you're doing, by all means, I'm just giving you some examples. You know, I create a lot of sites like this just like a lot on the fly, you know, just to gather information together. So we might be even, it's great for a project. you know, I'm working on a project, so I want to put a bunch of links. I just want to put a whole bunch of different types of information together on one spot. Then I have one place to give people an address to go to, and they can get all the information from there. So it's you can use it at a lot of different levels. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it either.
Wow.
The list is another option, and this is a terrible example.
Movie.
Sorry, I'm confusing myself with all the various options. She has a reading list. This is a better example. So a list type page. It's just that. It's just that. It's just the list. So she has a reading list. You could have a list for basketball players and the numbers that they wear and basic stats. So you create, you know, various columns, and you can put this data in there. You can update it, edit it, however you see fit. For reading list, vocabulary list, sports list.
And what's nice is when this list starts getting long, this is especially good for, you know, if you're making longer lists, because you can sort them. Kids can sort them for themselves on the fly. They have the option to sort by any of the column headers.
So I can go in here and change my column. I can add check boxes and drop downs and all kinds of things to my list. And then a start page. I don't have a good example of this other than what they have. I haven't seen people use this too much. What a start page is, anyone familiar with iGoogle?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, so when you do a page type start page, you control here what's in the red portion. So you can put, you know, you can embed announcements here, pictures, calendars, whatever you want to do, that's up here. And then this blue part down here, the user, each specific user, can add their own content, just like basically I would imagine all the stuff that you can put into iGoogle. So they can put widgets and, you know, links to their own stuff, however they, whatever tools they have, they can customize this page. So, again, I haven't really seen anyone use it, but it's there. It's an option. Alrighty. So, any questions or
Booby.
are we?
Booby.
Any questions or comments or anything? You want to move right along? Besides the young man over there.
Sorry, watch a movie.
Babysitter's husband cut two of his fingers off just a minute ago. So.
Oh, no.
Booby.
Daddy's on his way.
Yeah.
You want to watch a movie?
Okay.
What? Gaga.
If you can tell I'm saying movie.
Booby.
Doesn't sound like
Oh no.
Just copy the address, put it in the language. Just go back to your view. Go back to view mode. Go to view. Start your presentation. Just copy the URL from here.
We all do.
No.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
know.
but you would be doing
Work on one day.
I don't know why it does that.
I'm just not creative enough for
No clue.
sites.
Yeah, it's
I don't have flair to put the information
Well,
on there.
just that basic site, you know, don't use a template, just do a basic site to get the information on there and make it.
You know, when I use it is when I'm doing a survey or whatever, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
put those form links on there. I'll just get
Why is it going?
Just close off that window right there. Just close that window out right
The whole thing?
Yeah.
It's just popped open.
That's how I'm doing
It's
it.
like
I'll do
ask
a
toolbar you
presentation
installed.
or attach my slideshows or something like that to another program.
Okay,
Copy
now
the slides.
to the Chromebook part. As we make a mad dash for the finish line. Okay, so we know that the Chromebooks we don't install software the traditional way. We don't have floppy disk drives or CD-ROM drives, or we don't even install stuff off of flash drives. We don't install software in the traditional way to a Chromebook. What we have are apps and extensions, and there's two ways to control those. We can control them from an administrative level and push them out to the Chromebooks, or users can go to the Chrome store and download and install their own. Most apps are free, at least some functionality of a free, even if it's a paid version. You can usually get some of the functionality for free, and most of them, I pay for very, very few apps actually. But this is very similar to your smartphone. If you've got an iPhone, if you've got an Android phone, very similar concept. So they're just web-based applications that run just entirely within your browser. You don't have to install complicated software. The advantages to using apps is they install in seconds, they're always available, again, assuming you have an internet connection, they're always up to date, so it's not like the old days, we installed a version of a program, now there's a new version or there's an update. There are updates, but they get updated automatically. And supposedly they won't crash your computer. But if they do, the app might crash, but it generally leaves your computer up and running.
When the web started, websites were simple. They had text. When you were sick of text, you could have more text. And then an image, and then more text. The web, in essence, was about reading. Doing was reserved for programs you installed in your computer. Over time, though, websites evolved. They became faster and more responsive and added richer graphics, audio, video, and animations. Today, websites offer features that are pretty much like those found in applications installed from a CD. We can write and send emails, play games, edit photos, watch videos, and more. One of the cool things about web apps, as we call this new generation of websites, is that you never have to update them. Every time you visit Gmail, for example, you automatically enjoy its latest version with its newest features. And you can use web apps from any device with a browser. Your office computer, your personal laptop, even your phone. At Google, we designed our web browser, Chrome, specifically to run web apps, keeping it faster and up to date with the latest web features, like 3D graphics and apps that work offline. We've now taken Chrome's support for web apps to the next level with the Chrome Web Store, our new online marketplace. Try a web app from the Chrome Web Store, and you'll get a colorful new shortcut to this app in your new tab page. And don't worry, you can easily remove an app if you want to. There are thousands more apps waiting for you to discover them at chrome.google.com/webstore. Have fun exploring.
Okay, extensions, same basic principle. We install extensions, a little bit different, definition. Extensions add something maybe to a page you're already at. There's an RSS extension that you can install to your Chrome browser that will, whenever you're on a web page that offers RSS feeds that I talked about earlier, all of a sudden a little icon pops up in your web address bar. And when I see that, I go, oh, there's a web feed for this. And if I click on it, I can add it to my reader. So it just adds functionality. It makes things easier to do. So it adds, it enhances pages, it gives you timely notifications, and it allows you to do things with fewer clicks. And I'm going to show you more specific examples of each one of these after this commercial announcement.
Extensions are little programs which add useful features and functionality to your browser. To start, visit the Extensions section of the Chrome Web Store. Click Extensions to browse through the entire gallery of extensions, or search for a particular extension. You can also filter extensions by categories, like blogging or shopping. When you find something you like, you can try it out by simply clicking Install. Everything is easy and instantaneous. There's no need to restart your browser. If more features are added to an extension in the future, you'll have them automatically, without having to constantly check for updates. There are extensions for everyone, but here are some that I like to use. Whenever I stumble across a cool website, my first thought is to share it with my friends. But I don't want to interrupt what I'm doing to go to another site or to my email. Shareaholic for Google Chrome is an extension that lets me share the web page I'm viewing. All I need to do is click the Shareaholic icon, select a service, and add a note or message. Now, sometimes it's not just about sharing a cool website, but a cool gadget. I'm constantly reading about new tech products I want to try out, so it's nice to have an extension that helps me keep track of my ongoing wish list. Amazon.com has an extension that lets me add to my wish list whenever or wherever I'm shopping online. Some of my most common online tasks can be more fun with extensions, like searching and browsing images. If I'm searching for images of national parks, for example, I can choose to view my results in a cool, sleek 3D wall using the Cool Iris extension. Once installed, you can hover over an image and click the icon. Cool Iris brings the same functionality to a lot of other sites, like when I'm browsing a friend's photo album on Flickr, Picasa, or Facebook. Those are some extensions I've found useful, and we have thousands more in the Chrome Web Store to help you customize your browser. Discover these and others by visiting chrome.google.com/webstore.
Okay,
Just a side note, our that Cool Iris extension you just saw, we have art teachers at our district that actually use that to show off art for before kids are starting projects, especially the photos teacher. She goes right in there and they're looking through all different kinds of images, as she's trying to tell kids what kind of photos they should be making for their next assignment.
Okay, so probably what you want to do at some point as teams, math and English teams, whatnot, maybe are all together or in your own adventures, go into the Chrome store, start looking around, start seeing what apps are available, because like I said, there are two ways to manage those. You can push them out, so you might want to say, okay, hey, we got to have this graphing calculator so that every time a kid opens up a notebook and hits a new tab, that icon is there automatically. I'm going to go through some of these. There's a million of them. I don't know exactly, but there's thousands of them available. And I didn't have time, or I don't know specifically what you need, so I picked some that I thought might be relevant, and we'll go through those in a second. But that's probably something you'll want to do, and it may change over time. But you might want to develop a standard set of tools that you push out, because the kids are going to find stuff, and you might want to block things too. You can also block extensions and apps. It gets a little more tricky, and it gets to be in the management, which I don't like to do, but sometimes it's necessary. You do have the tools to, and right now if you try to download and install Angry Birds, it'll be blocked, because I blocked that one.
And this is where Kay needs to be kept in the loop if you're going to be doing this pre-installation for the kids in the Chromebooks. As we went over the tech session, I showed everyone how we can pre-install those, and maybe if Kay is going to be the gatekeeper for what gets pre-installed, or maybe we'll just give the functionality to the various teachers and they can pre-install that on their own. It'll be up to you guys.
What happens to the Chrome Sync when you're pushing things out? But if the kids have the Chrome Sync, so no matter which one they go to, they have their bookmarks and stuff. What happens with what's pushed out?
It shows up in the notebook.
And then also their Chrome Sync stuff shows up.
If you're not familiar, if you use the Chrome web browser on your desktop computer or laptop, you can sign into Chrome with your account. And when you add extensions, or you make bookmarks, or you add apps, when you log into another computer and sign into Chrome in the browser, you will get all of those things. When you sign into the netbooks, you will get all those things. And that's evident because when I signed into Chrome on my laptop, how I pushed out those web pages, they all loaded into my browser when I logged into the browser with the Dallas district account. Hey, buddy, what you got there? You dropped one. That's okay. You can.
You can do
your
both.
experience will
You can do
travel with you.
Okay.
So same thing if the kids go home and they log into Chrome, if you show them how to do that. And the way you do that, just so you know, and it's actually really cool. If you notice, I have these little icons up here now, because the new version of Chrome, if you hit the wrench icon, that gives you your options. I'm signed into this Chrome session as my FireLogic account. Now, I've also created accounts for the district here, because I have a test account. So when I click on this, it takes me to a separate Chrome. Notice I have multiple Chrome sessions open down here, but I'm logged into this session with the school account. And when I logged into this Chrome session, that's where I got all the tabs. And notice that I bookmarked some things. When I log into the Chromebook, I get these bookmarks on my Chromebook. And when I'm in my FireLogic account, I get these tabs. No matter what computer I log into Chrome as. If I log in the netbook, I keep calling them netbooks. I have Chromebooks with this account, then I will get these as well.
And that's through bookmarks? No, how do you get those file folders up there?
Well, when I bookmark things when I'm logged into Chrome. So I have to log into Chrome.
Yeah, okay.
When I do it on a Chromebook, it happens automatically because a Chromebook doesn't have another browser or operating system.
Yeah, okay.
Everything runs in Chrome.
So for the kids, it's seamless when they log in.
Right.
But if
Well,
the
I'm
kids,
just thinking if a teacher finds a page she wants her class to use but doesn't have it pushed out ahead of time, the kids can bookmark it no matter,
right,
Yes.
right.
it'll be there.
And for the kids too, if they want this experience when they're not on the Chromebooks, they have to use Google Chrome and they have to sign in. Now this can be a problem if they're using a public computer if they don't sign out and delete their data. So I really don't, it might be better for home where they have a little more control over it than say in the, in the computer lab or something.
So you
like that.
actually have to sign into Chrome, which is more than using Chrome to sign into Google.
Right. So you
have to sign into Chrome.
You have to sign into
Okay.
Chrome. But notice, see all of these extensions up here?
Mm-hmm.
All of these extensions are loaded into my FireLogic Chrome account, so to speak.
Okay, cool.
So, and these are some of the extensions I'm going to go over. And when I hit a new page, whether I'm on a Chromebook, so what I did was when I was preparing for this presentation, I knew that I was being presented from my FireLogic account, and I give them different icons so I know I'm the ninja up here. The icons aren't all that great, so I had to pick something. And I'm logged in here as FireLogic, so I know what account. But as I added them, now if I logged into a Chromebook, I would see all of these. Now there might be a few apps that may not work on the Chromebooks,
Right.
or they might work differently.
Right.
Like we were talking last night about Google Books, which I think is on the other page, and that's one I'm going to cover. When you're on a laptop, I believe it downloads the actual book to your laptop. So if you're not online, you can read that Google book. However, when I was on the netbook, I disconnected from the network, and it cached like 20-some pages of the book. But when I got to the end of that, when it ran out of information, it wasn't able to download the rest of it from the internet. So I think some of your experiences may be slightly different depending on what kind of device you're on. And I think that will change over time, hopefully for the better. So
Okay, let me ask this. If, for example, we want to push out some of these apps, I'm a Mac person, so I'm going to call them an app, whatever they call them. But anyway, if we've got these apps, and if Carmen and Laura, the math teachers, want to have a different appearance than Amy or Joy, then we need to allow the teachers to have the ability to control that, right?
Well, I'll answer this one actually. And this is something we worked on yesterday. This is where K comes into place, and we're going to have to divide up those sub-orgs that I was showing you and give those teachers that want to have that control access to the settings portion in Google Apps, and then they can go in and find you can just even name it, whatever, the class name if you want, whatever period name or whatnot. And then when the teacher goes in, they can click on their particular org within Google Apps, and then they can control the settings for what pages preload and also what extensions get loaded on. So it is an option. It's a little more technical, but Kay can definitely work through that.
Right, you might want to start with just a point person, Kay, and maybe Laura, maybe set that up. And then over time, as people get more comfortable with it, maybe they could just do it for a while. Because, you might want to change things daily, but at first you might want to try to keep it
And you
simple.
can't take the web store off, right now?
I guess if you put it as a block, if you blocked it in the URL block list, I think, you
You
could.
think you can? I just remember that was one of the things that it told us, well, no, that's default. You don't have the web store. Anyway, I just couldn't know that kids are always going to.
It's something we're going to have to try, but I'm fairly certain if you just block that address, your kids won't be able to get to it.
Well, and this
And
is
you
always...
can't block it just for students, because you might not want to block it for teachers.
That's what I was.
And this is
Right.
this is always a problem when it comes to technology. Where is the dividing line between, and I understand and I don't disagree with you, but people tend to want to have technology to be able to control everything to the nth degree. That's not always possible. We want to do that as much as we can, and we should always try to make better tools to do that. But at some point, it becomes a classroom management issue. Okay, kids, especially with these Chromebooks, the battery life is great. When you shut the lid on that Chromebook, it's going to go into sleep and it's going to conserve the batteries. So I see a lot of teachers who have been using this for a while, like, okay, lids down. So they say lids up, lids down. When I'm talking, focus is on me, we're doing something else. I don't even want to see those things open. And then when they are open, lids up, you are, hopefully actively watching what the kids are doing. Because even if they're not on Chromebooks, they could be passing notes or talking to their friends. Yeah, they have access to a lot more things, and we want to control that from the technology side as much as possible. But it's not always completely possible. So there's a balance there. Some of it is classroom management. Hopefully the tech can do most of that for us, but there is classroom management. So let's spend some time going over a few of these apps and extensions.
And Kay, if you want to have that ability where teachers get separate privilege from students, I would divide up your Title II org by staff and then students, or teachers and students.
Whatever group, you have a staff group, you have a student.
Correct. You can even further down, hammer it down even further if you want more control. So it's up to you.
And when I was thinking about this, and this isn't completely well fleshed out and thought out, but I think you might want to think of it this way. I started to look at all the apps and what are their functions, what do they do, and how do you want to go about looking for things that are going to help you. So I think there's basic tools, things like calculators, there's dictionaries, but the nice thing about this, and there's lots of dictionaries, there's lots of calculators. The nice thing about this dictionary is it sits as an extension in your bar, and when you're reading something like a web page, if you can highlight that text, you hit the extension, it gives you a definition right then and there.
Nice.
So I know to me, reading can sometimes, even as an adult, be a struggle. So when I'm on a tool like an iPad and I'm reading a book like with a Kindle app or something, and I can click on a word and the definition comes up, that's really powerful to me, especially when I'm reading something that is really deep and I don't have a lot of understanding about. I was reading about philosophy one time, and I don't really have an education and everything, so they're referencing all these people and all these terms, and I'm struggling to understand everything, but it was really helpful to be able to click in on a term and, okay, or somehow, like I know on the iPad, and you probably have this as well, you could click on a term and then it would link to Wikipedia or it would link to some other information. Of course, when you're me, then you're way off topic eventually. But it's very helpful because I don't understand this concept about economics or philosophy or something, and I can go and I can read some basic information. So at least I know something about it, so I can get back to what I was reading. So there are tools like that. And then I started looking at some of these things. There's study aids, assessments, there's flashcards, the study stacks are similar, and I'm going to try to go through some of these. Khan Academy, which I know you guys know about, actually is a really great assessment tool. And then there's also things for doing research and productivity tools. So I can use Google Books, There's not a ton of free content. Everything that's free is out in the public domain, so that means it has to be old. But a lot of the classics are old. So, you know, if you're reading Shakespeare, you know, and it's available in the public domain, you know, the kids can download it and take it home. They don't have to have the physical book with them.
And Michael addressed that question that we had in the car last night, actually, about does Google Books download so if the kids don't,
Right.
the 3G thing doesn't pan out for them at home. What did we find out with that?
Yeah, we found out that you have to, on the Chromebooks, you have to be connected to the internet. I believe that when I was doing it on my laptop in my initial early part of the investigation for preparation for this, I think it downloaded the actual book to my laptop, so if I wasn't connected to the network on my laptop, I could still access it. I didn't flesh that out completely, but you know, if this is the nature, you know, we have to be on the internet for using Chromebooks pretty much. I mean, it just sort of, you know, goes along with it. Capture the cloud, I like the concept, I'm not sure. I had a little struggles with it, but essentially you can go to a web page, you could highlight text, you could then capture that text. You go in to capture the cloud and you see all the pages you've bookmarked. So you can either go back to the page real easily or you can go back to the highlighted text real easily. I'll show you that. In Prezi, does anyone use Prezi? Prezi's pretty cool. Prezi is another way of doing online presentations, and it's really neat and it's different from the other apps because you can expand. I've actually got a video I think that we'll have time to watch for that. So let me just go through a couple of these real quick and we'll wrap it up. Okay, so right here in my Chrome session I have all of these tools. I'll just kind of go in order that I see them. Khan Academy. I think you're familiar with this. It sounds like you know the basic parts, and hopefully I can remember my login. And a lot of these make it easy because it allows you to log in with your Google credentials. So notice I think I had already pre-signed up for the site, but once I did, I could just click on Google and notice it logged me in as M. Cannizzo. I think I created 2 accounts. I don't know which one I'm at right now. Now the cool thing about the basics about Khan Academy is I can go and I can watch videos on any of these topics, and it's very heavily math orientated. But I could just do simple equations. We're not going to watch the whole thing. I don't want to bore the English teachers.
Let's say we have the equation 7 times x. 7 times x is equal to 14.
Okay, that's about enough of that. But I actually watched this whole video. Actually, I kind of put it on in the background while I was working. And he goes through and explains to the point where he goes, well, what does 7 times x mean? X plus x plus x plus x plus x. All the way through. So if you have kids that are struggling or want reinforcement of the area, I think the videos are actually pretty good. I would just caution you to probably preview some of the content, especially when it gets into some of the areas about history or, you know, when people start interpreting things. Math is, I would think, pretty cut and dry. I mean, algebra hasn't changed in thousands of years, right? It's 7x is equal to 14. There's always 7x is equal to 14. But when you start talking about other things, just like books or anything else, there's always an interpretation, but which isn't a bad thing. Sometimes you want students to flesh that out too. But there are all types of videos. What I really like about this is that you can go into practice mode. And again, this is math orientated. And oh yeah, this was the account that I was, I kind of started at the beginning. And what it does is it maps everything. So I started with very basic addition. And just to show you how this works, when I click on this, it's going to tell me, and it's what is that called when it interprets how you're going along, and then it, you know, moves you along faster or slower. What?
It's adaptive.
Adaptive. Thank you. I don't remember the word. So if I start answering these questions and I start doing them correctly, it'll give me progressively harder ones on this topic, and once I've done 4 or 5, it's It's going to pop up and tell me, hey, you're ready to move on. And what's really nice about this, and I don't, you're familiar with this, right? I don't know
I
how
hope
much.
Dallas County people are.
Yeah, I don't know how much.
It's one of my. I love this website.
Yeah, I saw it on your website, so
Yeah,
then I
it's
figured you guys are somewhat familiar with it, probably, or more familiar with it. But it links all of these concepts together, so you can progress from one to another. Now, do you guys use the coaching part of it at all? Because what you can do is you can go in here and you can sign up for an account, and then you give the students your information here, and you can students can add you as a coach. And I'm trying to figure out which way I did this.
Each kid has to have some login though.
Well, they'll use their Google account.
Right.
Now I think what I did was I under here, and I should have bookmarked it here.
Yeah.
Cool.
No man. Let me tell you what, you're paying lots of money to be able to manage the way that thing is. And similar to accelerated mathematics.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm adding Chrome because what I did here was, I believe under this account, I believe I set this account up as the teacher. Yes. Okay, so with my school district account, now I can see what my FireLogic account has been doing. And it can rate my progress. This is my summary of progress. So I've done all of these units, and here's my progress. I can get a progress report, which shows what I've done in addition. It tells me all the details about it, when I worked on it go, how many problems I've tried. And it's very, and I can change, what I'm viewing. So you can have all your students add you as a coach, and then you can check their progress. I can see a daily activity report.
No, just man.
So this is for today. I can change this for, I think I worked on it, probably some on Saturday. No activity. So I can see what days specifically students worked on, and I don't remember what specific day. Exercise progress over time. So goals. So I can set goals for students, how many videos they want to watch, how many. So it tracks everything that. There's one report that I can't see.
There are schools in California that this is the way they get high school credit. Kids take trig and calc all the time.
California has no money.
That's
So can we
true.
use
They have
this?
less money than we do.
But you get the idea here. So again, for math, it's really good. There are some other tools here, or some other academic areas. I think there was some history and social studies. Yeah, there was some art, history, and stuff like this. But it's a tool that kids could use on their own and just monitor their own progress. It's a tool that they can use in conjunction with teachers. Okay, we covered this today. Why don't you watch the video and do some practice? So you see that power
For
there.
parents, for homework help. That's where I think it's would be great for us, is for parents and homework help. Because parents can go through and create themselves as the coach. So even if they don't know how to do trig, they can see if their kid's doing trig.
Yeah, lots of different ways, and you can decide as an organization how you want to do that. Flashcards, pretty simple, basic. I create flashcards. I can edit this series. I guess I could add animations, which I won't do. I can add a new series. I can do anything. I could do vocab. Whatever I want to do, sticking with math.
And then on the kids' end, they go in and find yours and go to town.
I don't know that this particular one has that functionality, but some of them do. And that's why I said this could be like in your tool set, because kids might just want to go in there, hey, I just need to study for this and they can quickly create something on their own. Maybe it's not the best example that there is out there, but
Or it's something that you set up before you have a review session for a test. You set it up on your flashcards, and then it's presented on the projector.
Now, one that is a little bit more in depth is the study stack. This takes that idea and I can't remember if problem is I can't remember which ones I created.
See if it allows you to log in through your apps.
No, this one doesn't. I knew this was going to happen.
Study stack is one that goes on the tablets too.
That's good.
That's the volumes.
Yeah, I don't have that one in there. I'm drawing a blank and I don't want to. Let me think about that. We'll come back to that.
You want to show them present?
There's Quizlet, and that one I did.
I just thought it was Quizlet.
Okay. So I logged in, created an account. I logged in, and I can set up things like in this I just did math vocabulary, and I set up a bunch of flashcards. And with this one, I believe I'm able to do friends and groups, so I can share with people. And there's different ways that I can test this. I can do a spelling unit on it if I want. So, that's because I spelled them all right. You might want to turn the volume on. But anyway, it just I don't know if I'm not getting a mouse thing here.
Okay, and again, on these, in order to pre-install these, you've got to go back, find them, get that convoluted code.
And then Kay would have to put that in for the proper org.
And what's nice about this one is you can make your flashcards public, so you may find a bunch of things that like worms vocabulary. Probably not applicable to this group, but but you can get public things. You can share things with friends. Like I created this. I created a group so I can share it with friends. And I'm trying to think. The other thing I wanted to show about this mode, I can go to test mode. So you, as a teacher, could go in there and set up your information, and then create it in test mode. So I didn't flush this all the way out, but I believe that you could do this just as a simple assessment, so kids can gauge on their own, or you can gauge on their own quickly where they're at, or you could probably do it for a more formalized assessment. But it's taking the information, basically the definitions I put in here, and it's created a test out of it. And you can tell it that what types of questions you want it to do, and various parameters, and then you can click create exam. And I think by doing it this way, every time the kid goes in there, they get a different version of that same test. So again, I think the idea is going to be, go through, it's going to be an ongoing thing. You may find new tools, you may find something that does something better than something you had before, but you'll probably want to sit down at very early on and go through and search, connect with other teachers. That's the way I find a lot of this stuff. I'll do searches and see what other teachers are doing. I find a lot of information that way.
in my admin presentation yesterday, whoever was there, you remember those resources I put up. They have the Google Apps educational user groups. They have the links to the other Chromebook districts that are using these already. Great resources, districts that have had these in the classroom already for a few months, see what they're doing. Reach out to some of those teachers from those districts and see what they have to say.
And you're going to give us links to all these pages, right?
Yes, we're going to share out all the information we've been presenting on.
Drop mine?
I'm curious
That's
about
too
drop
much.
mine.
That's not too much.
I was looking, some of these I was still doing more research last night, and I was looking for something better as far as mind mapping. Because the mind mapping tool I found early on was Connected Mind, and it looks really fancy and great, but it seemed a little complicated to me to use. And there's things like, I don't know if you've ever used like Bubbleless. There are lots of mind mapping tools out there. I didn't specifically look for the one, but you get the idea. You know what mind mapping is all about. So when I started to use this, when I first saw it, I was like, great, I bookmarked it, and then I went back to it, and I'm like, a little complicated maybe. But you get the idea. And again, I can't predict every tool that you want to use. I'm just thinking in general terms and showing you some of the examples that are out there. So I started doing searches then for mind mapping within the Chrome store. And I found some other tools. I didn't really get into them because, some things I understand why you want to create an account, but like when I went to OpenMind, it wanted, some of these things are pay sites, so you might get limited availability. I didn't really want to even spend my time investigating something I'm going to end up paying for unless I'm really, looking for a good tool. When I got here, get your enterprise license now, request a quote, I'm like, whoa, I just want a mind mapping tool. And maybe there's a reason why. I'm not knocking the product. I don't really know anything about it, but I don't know anything about Mind Manager, but apparently it's a less expensive alternative to that. So I'm not looking for that space. I'm sure there are some basic examples of things that we can use besides these pay-for apps. What time we got? 16? One more. Google Books. Again, early on, for some reason, I thought I was into science, and being a geologist and a chemist by training, I hooked right into this regional studies of the Potwar Plateau in northern Pakistan. I was just searching in Google Books to see what was available for free. Again, a lot of the classics. When I searched for math, I came up with a lot of math textbooks from like 1900 and the 1800s. And again, some things don't change, right? I mean, 2 + 2 is 4, and it always has been and it always will be. But, you might find some stuff out there like, compare and contrast this, or what were things like back then. I don't know, you can be creative. But you can find there are quite a bit of free resources available through Google Books. And of course, there are books you can purchase. The whole books on the Chromebook theme is just unanswered. It's a good question. It's unanswered. It's wide open. I don't think anyone's really got a good solution for that. There's various types of readers, Kindle and ebooks, Nooks, and there's Google Books, and other proprietary things. There's a lot of even free websites where you can go out there and get ebooks. But again, anything that's free is probably out of the public domain, or maybe a very limited educational value. So the question at some point goes, what device do we use? What's the format? Is it Kindle? Is it Nook? Is it Google Books? Is it some, maybe they'll come up with some like PDF type standard that works across all formats. That's would be ideal, but I don't think we're there yet. So you'll just have to go in there into Google Books and search and see what you like. What you can find for free. And
so can you get Kindle books on the Chromebook?
I believe there's an app for that.
Excellent.
And they're free.
Well, there's
Oh,
thousands
spelled it
and
right.
thousands of free books in Kindle.
So yeah, there are probably several
But you can,
apps for that.
The only thing
Kindle
maybe
Reader.
tricky about that is I bet when you go in and create a Kindle account, I bet you it requires some information that may be hard for a kid to do, but I could be wrong.
It makes you get, if you go to get a Kindle book, even if it's free, you have to have an Amazon account.
That's what I figured.
Oh.
That's what I figured. That's the reason I
So
probably.
does that mean you had to pay for that Amazon book?
No.
I guess?
No,
No.
it's free.
No, it's free, and
But
I
you have
think
to have an
probably
account.
like the Nooks are the same way. I'm sure you have to have a
You have to have a Barnes and Noble account.
account even to get the free books. And Amazon, actually, when you go in and get one, then they send you an email for here's your total, even though it's zero. You still get a statement,
Oh.
even though it didn't cost you
And
anything.
I see.
And then it's on your account. If you have the book, like if your note was
Yeah.
toast, then you can go back and get the books you bought or
Yeah.
the free ones. And
okay, and then the
Fine.
Google Reader then is, can I have a whole class doing the same thing?
Say that once more?
Like if I want them all to be reading the same book, can they just all, they can all download it on Google e-reader?
I don't know the exact answer to that, Michael. Would you know?
I didn't get the
That,
question.
well, the trick on Google e-reader is, remember, it is just pictures of an actual book page, which is good in a way because you always can tell the right page number. You know, you can always go through it. And so, like, if you look at Macbeth, it's actually a photocopy of a page from Macbeth from the Harvard Library,
Right,
you know, whatever.
yes.
The bad thing about it is some of those suckers are using a font that is so old it's difficult to read, you know, because it, well, you're not young enough. But anyway, back in the old days, sometimes fonts weren't as readable as other fonts are now. I mean, it's that old, complex, sort of 1912 typeface, and it's difficult to read. So, but,
Okay, this one is Prezi.
Ideas, showcase work, or even to
That's
persuade
another
your
presentation
audience to do
type.
something. But what used to be a great opportunity has turned into a dreadful experience for you and your audience. The reason? Boring presentations. That's where Prezi comes in. In Prezi, you create and present your ideas on a large canvas like a whiteboard, instead of traditional slides. You can easily place ideas, images, and videos, and arrange them in a natural flow to tell your story. When you're presenting, Prezi lets you zoom in to emphasize a detail or zoom out to see the big picture. Now the audience can see the whole story as well as the details, and are more likely to remember your work, ideas, or be persuaded to do something. The best part, you can start a Prezi now for a presentation you have tomorrow. In just a few clicks, you can bring presentations back to life.
And it is. It does. I've seen a lot of student examples of these, and sometimes you want to get a little sick because they're zooming in and zooming out too fast, and you're like, whoa, your head's spinning. But it does. It adds a whole layer to a presentation that you can't get with PowerPoint or with Google presentations. So it's a real neat way. And you know, I know as teachers, a lot of teachers like to give their students options with the technology. You can do Prezi, you can do PowerPoint, you can do any one of these 3 or 4 or 5 different ways of doing it, because then the kids are more engaged, because a lot of kids like to choose one way over the other.
Is
So
Prezi
it's-
any harder than PowerPoint or anything? I mean, does it follow the
the
same
kids
type
seem,
format?
yeah, it's the same kind of concept. The
Okay.
kids seem to grasp on to it pretty easily. I've seen, you know, a lot of presentations
Yeah,
done with
okay.
Prezi.
And Prezi is an app for Chromebook, right?
Yes.
It's a native app? Okay.
I like it because your designs will be much more creative for the kids.
Yeah.
On the page. And they're not limited.
You see my kid with it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And actually, that's the way.
Some of the calculators you might be familiar with. Ooh, it's been updated. See, look at that.
It's our live update.
But you know, I don't even know. Right?
that's me at this point. I can't even make something up.
So it almost looks like, you know, when it's kind of a reverse Polish notation calculators, where it kind of adds all these things up, and then you get some weird thing. I used to know how to do that, but you can see there's a ton of things like that. So you'll need to flesh those out. There's this equation editor. This was pretty nice because you can create complicated equations and you can save them as text. I didn't have a good experience with that, but you can save it as an image, which then you could post to a website or something.
Right, but I couldn't get it on the Chromebooks to save as an image.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was it
So
saying?
it just won't save.
It just won't save.
It just won't save. So there was another one that I found that will save as an image, but you have to know latex notation.
Ew. Okay.
Okay, how do you get rid of an app? Like we're playing around with them and we load one.
The way you get rid of them is you go to your options, and you'll have extensions.
Okay.
And I think it might be a little different on the Chromebook.
You can right click on the app
Oh, and it just presents you the menu.
and it says
Oh yeah, remove from Chrome.
Oh, there we
from
go.
Chrome. Yeah.
2 clicks, and it's gone.
So
Cool.
actually, I kind of like this one. This is a real simple one since I'm clicking on it. Timer. I can start my timer and I click go, and now it's
So for like a timed quiz or something.
it's like a timer. So if I'm doing speeches or something, what's nice is I can go back to my presentation and look what's up here in my little tab,
Yeah.
my little thing. So is it rocket science? No, but it's that's what apps and extensions are all about. And there's another one like that will reload your web page. Now these are the apps, and these are the extensions. Extensions don't always show up here. So I have I'll go through some of the extensions. Wolfram Alpha, are you familiar with that, math teachers?
Yes.
Okay, so I can have right within my extensions up here, I can search Wolfram Alpha right from this. Now this one, I think this is the official app or widget, and if you're not familiar with this site, it's just a different way of presenting a lot of information. It's very mathematical, graphic, data orientated. So it might be better than a standard Google search for certain things. But that's one version of it. Oh, this is the official one. And then there's the official one. And the difference is that one pops open that separate window and this one goes in a tab. Well, big difference. But, there's going to probably be a lot of variations out there. This one is sharing. So if I want to share a page that I'm at, I can install this extension and then I can share however I want. So I want to share this page via email. So it pops open, it's got a link to the page that I was on, it populates this, all I have to do is address the email and send it. And I can choose whichever format that I want to do. So Facebook, or I can print it, I can do it LinkedIn or Blogger. Got my Google Voice app, which I don't have an account for this, so it doesn't work on this, but it would be a shortcut to that. Here's my Google Dictionary. So if I have population, and I didn't quite get that, and I clicked my dictionary. Oh, not found.
Population, that's wrong.
Yeah,
Oh, they spelled it wrong. Oh, I'm not the only one. Okay.
No, you spelled because you spelled it wrong in your search.
Oh, there you go.
It's your fault. Mike.
Darn.
Nice job. Sounds like the kids.
Try like United States. See what
Oh
happens.
yeah, I can't. You have to be able to select the word, but let's just do. Darn, I thought I was gonna. Yeah, Jerry's human. So yesterday I was here, so let's just pick a word.
Chicago.
On an 8th grade reading level there.
Chicago.
That's on the 8th grade reading level.
So gives me a definition, and then I guess web definition. I'm not sure what that means, but it gives me all kinds of information. A similar type extension that I've installed, one that you don't see, is called Google Related. Now watch, I'm going to search for. How come Buffalo, Missouri isn't my first choice here?
We're working on it.
Hold on.
Bias towards
It's MO, by the way, but yeah.
Now look down here, what's happened down here. I installed Google Related, which is an extension, and as I'm searching around the web, it's going to come up with similar search results that might not come up in whatever I'm searching. So I was specifically searching Wikipedia, but Google related also popped open other things that are that might not pop up when I search Wikipedia.
That one must be easy to get because I get it all the time in my lab. The kids click on something.
Yeah.
Must be.
And get Buffalo, Missouri.
No, and get the Google related tab because I'll
Yeah.
turn it off and then.
So that's another one. Notice I am on a page. Then my little RSS button, if you're familiar with that, this popped up. It wasn't here before. That's because there's a feed associated with this. I can subscribe to this page now. It's going to pop into my Google Reader, and now probably whenever this Wikipedia page gets updated. I guess it's just Wikipedia in general. So now whenever Wikipedia has new posts, I'm going to get the updates for them. So this might not be the greatest example. I'm probably following a blog or something very specific, but this option does pop up because it's an extension. Here's the cloud capture. So I can capture this web page. It's captured. Now when I go back here, I can go to my content. These are things that I've captured with cloud capture. It's in my inbox. I can share them. So if I'm doing research with a group, here's some stuff I did last night. I was on Wikipedia and I just searched school and I highlighted the text on the page and I captured it to cloud. Now it's in my cloud capture and it's what I highlighted. So if I'm taking notes as I'm going along, as I'm doing my web research, not only do I have the text, but I know where it came from.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a little funky. It doesn't work with all websites, I've noticed.
It seems like it just strips the content what it can pull off.
So this was a text copy, so I highlighted the text and I did a capture. This one, the one I just did, I captured the whole website. There it is. And then I have different options of things that I can do with it. Again, I can share it. I have access to my Google Docs because this is a hook into your Google Docs. So here's a list to my Google Docs because I would imagine I could take this information then. You're supposed to be able to save it as a Google Doc, but I didn't. See, convert to Google Docs. I was not able to get that to work. But I could take this thing, copy it, I guess, and go into my Google Docs. I like the concept, and some of these things that it's kind of unnecessary to me, but I like the idea of being able to do research and quickly go from site to site and quickly document things. Because what you don't want kids doing is copying something and pasting it into a Google Doc and then not knowing where they got that information from or being able to reference it. So this, in my mind, this extension or this app is a little clunky, but it's a really good concept, and there might be other things out there like this. But and it'll probably improve over time. But it does some good things. This is my Google Bookmarks, which this is kind of Google Bookmarks is kind of on the way out. If you've never used it before, I probably wouldn't worry about it because now that you can log into Chrome, you can save your bookmarks.
Yeah, see, because for a long time Google Bookmarks didn't work on Chrome, did they?
I don't know. It's been working for me for a while. Wow. And this one is just a simple auto refresh page. This will automatically refresh whatever page you're on when you set it. This might be good for something like if you're waiting for Google Forms. If you're on the spreadsheet page and you want it to refresh every so often, I think it will automatically on its own anyway. But that was one example I could think of. I might reset the refresh for every 5 minutes, and then I can come back to that page, and I know that every time I come back, it's refreshed. So again, is it going to change your life? No, but just another example of what's out there. And I believe I didn't like my homework because it's a whole nother thing. It's a 99-cent app. I kind of like the concept. I didn't really flesh it out. but it's a way of putting things onto smartphones, and it's got calendars and stuff like this. But I'm thinking, we got Google Docs. So I can do all this in Google Docs. If I'm a student and have a smartphone, I can sync my smartphone to my Google Docs. So why would I need to do this? But just again, an example of what is out there.
Slide Rocket, Michael?
Yeah, again, it's another thing
Is that paid?
No, it was under page.
Slide Rocket is another way of doing presentations, but you can get into it if you want. I know some people really use it heavily, and they love it. But I'm using Prezi or Google Presentation probably.
The guy at Mornot really likes Slide Rocket.
Yeah, and this is the thing. There's a million tools that are
Personal preference.
again, thousands of tools that are available for us. It's good to give student choices, but we also probably don't want them to be all over. If a student is really into something and they want to learn how to use it, and some students are like that, they'll go about doing it and do it anyway, but you might not want to bog your whole class down with doing this. You might want to try to keep it simple. But again, I think the idea is to go through and go through the Chrome store, the web store, and to start searching and finding tools before you roll them out, and come up at least with a basic tool set. So for math, it's probably going to be like calculators and the Khan Academy and things like that. For English, you might want to have a dictionary and thesaurus and some of these other tools. Probably not there yet with the Google Books or some sort of free book thing yet. I think that's beyond the scope. But you want to flush it out, and it'll change over time.
Just ask me if I wanted a sneak peek at their new presentation editor.
I would definitely give it a try. That's actually quite a bit improved over the old one. So.
Okay, time to explore and play. Well, we're out of time.
I think everyone's been exploring all morning.
Yeah,
Right.
I think we've been.
Which is fine. Just trying to guide you through, get you started. It's really up to you guys how you want to use this and how it's going to work for you. Hopefully we've been able to give you some understanding of Google Apps, and if you're familiar with it, hopefully you got a deeper understanding. Hopefully you have a better understanding of the Chromebooks and some apps and extensions that are available. Are there any questions?
Everyone was concerned about when the Chromebooks are put to sleep by kids just closing them. I'll show you an example. I did change the setting on your Google Apps domain, so if you'll see, we're open, we're logged in. Student closes the Chromebook. Password lock. It was the policy called auto screen lock on idle. That's what it was.
It shuts the book, you could have to log back in.
Which, if you want your teachers to be able to have them shut it and open it, that's not handy.
That's not going to work.
Oh, does it take that long to log in?
You have to type a password, that's not that long.
Assuming they remember, but yes, you're right. If you logged in, hopefully you can remember half an hour later what your
Because I
password
can
is.
tell you, they did not log out very well.
Right, and that's the
Yeah,
bigger
see,
problem.
and that's,
Well,
yeah,
I didn't log
that's
out because where do I do that?
under the wrench, you say sign off.
Yeah, that's better than dump them out.
I just want to remind you, if you will, please go to the feedback form site. We really would like your feedback. I think Derrick is going to send out some information, and I think he can maybe attest
You
talk
had
to
any
that.
Christmas with this?
Everyone that provides feedback, the email address you provide in there, I'm going to send out, we're going to link out all the presentations we've been going through, so you'll have copies of all this, all the docs that we've been sharing out. We're going to post up the presentation recordings for this, so you can go back and rewatch. We didn't record all the sessions because we only had one mic, but now we have 4 sessions that will be recorded. We'll post those up, so probably about later this week or early next week, you should get an email with all of this great content for yourselves.
Cool.
And if you have any questions, if you have anything that wasn't answered that you want to ask one of us, feel free to just email. We'll definitely help you out as best we can.
Just as far as, again, and I don't think we're probably going to be able to do this the first week after we come back from vacation, but just as general rolling out, I mean, one of the things that the idea of numbering them so the kids, if they want to tear up that computer, they know they're getting the same torn up computer tomorrow or whatever. I mean, what other basic general suggestions would you have as far as implementing these in a classroom? Just practical, down and dirty stuff.
I'd probably say one of the biggest things is, as you said, make sure that they're assigned. Make sure that, as we were talking about in that change management session, kids need to take some kind of ownership over this. If we're just going to create a system where it doesn't matter which laptop the kid takes and they can choose whichever one, they're not going to care if they damage the unit at all. So make sure that we start instilling this notion of, okay, you're responsible for this unit when you're using it and when you're taking it home, if they will be.
And a suggestion from that, I mean, we have a ton of netbooks, and it's the same issue. We have some classes where they're assigned to a student sort of for the year. So, again, I told you we have the Google Doc with all our district tag numbers, the manufacturer's serial number, the student, their ID, maybe the teacher who assigns them. You might want to do something similar, but yours are not going to be one-to-one. If it's shared between 5 classes, you might have unit number 1 issued to 5 different students. So create that spreadsheet out. Tell the students, when you get that Chromebook and you open it up, if something's not working, tell me right away. Let the teacher know right away. Don't, after the period's over, go, oh, you know what, the screen's broken. Because it's hard to hold, unless you see something happen, it's hard to, and I don't want to say blame, because sometimes things just happen. The Chromebook didn't work. I don't know why it didn't. Probably no fault of the students. But as soon as there's a problem, report that to the teacher. And if you can have a few extra available for those situations, it's probably a good idea. If you have 30 kids and you have 31 or 32 in a cart, it's probably the best thing to do.
So pressing the power button or doing the shutdown doesn't matter either way.
Well, there's just a little bit of a difference. So if it's just a screen close, that's considered just a sleep for the computer. So it'll open back up, it'll ask, put your password back in, for whoever was logged in.
But to actually shut down, because it has a shutdown spot, or you can just do the power button.
The power button, yes, that is considered a full shutdown.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a good idea to keep them shut down, keep them plugged in the cart, even though the battery life is tremendous. You don't want to pop it open and only have a half an hour and you're going to use it for the whole day. Have extra plugs, those, if kids are going to be taking them home, those plugs are probably going to get lost or whatever, so you might want to have some, purchase some extra ones, or, have power strips available, for when you need to charge them real quick if they're not in the carts, until you get the carts.
Because of the fast startup time and login time on these devices, the whole issue of wasting all that time for login and boot up time, it's not a problem anymore. So I would instill in all the kids, when they're using them from day 1, we're shutting the units down. We're not just putting them to sleep. Always shut your unit down.
Would you plug them in between classes, though, or just, if you kind of watch your battery?
If you're charging overnight, I don't think you're going to have to plug in between classes. I think that's an issue of the past.
If it's, but if you want to keep accountability, you want to keep things neat and clean, from the one video that we didn't show, teachers showing some clips. Students walk in the door, they grab theirs out of the cart. They sit down, they turn it on, they log in if that's what they're supposed to do. At the end of the period, they shut it down, they put it back in the cart. That way everything stays maintained. Yeah. Teacher can just look in the cart. If there's 2 rows of 15 and each one's populated, at least I know they're all there. Maybe they're not in the right spot.
Yeah.
But
and it could be that the teacher unplugs the cart. They can still put them in the cart and not charge.
Yeah, but
because I just know with our laptops, it really screwed up our batteries to charge and not
I don't think the new batteries really have that
problem.
One thing I will tell you to our staff, and you might share it with the kids right up front, there's no additional money for this project. So if you come back in and there is a warranty on these devices and we can ship them back to Google, but if 10 get broken, you're down to 15.
User damage is not covered, so the kids have to know if it's damage from drops, if it's damage from hits, from cracks in your backpack, that's not covered. Functional damage, defect kind of damage will be covered, but if it drops and they see a big crack on it, they're not going to get a replacement for that unit.
And it may be more of a formality, but you may want to come up with something. I know districts like ourselves, especially the kids who are taking them home, they don't take them home unless they sign an agreement.
Contract, yeah.
If it goes home and it doesn't come back, you're responsible for it. And this is how much they cost. And kid signs off, parent signs off, or what to do if one is lost or stolen. You got to go to your teacher or to the principal or somebody right away. It was in my backpack or in my locker, and now it's not. Because the sooner you know about it, the more likely you are to get it back. And if it's off campus, we need a police report. Because what happened the very first year we had ours was, I kind of told them not to do this, but they told the kids a week before, we're collecting the netbooks in a week. Guess what? Suddenly 3 were stolen between the time that they were supposed to turn them in. And our district had a fairly liberal policy where we allowed them to purchase insurance, so the parents would put down, depending on, they were free and reduced, it was less, but they still had to put something down. And if they didn't get the netbooks back, they lost that deposit. But if it's $25 or $50 on a $400 netbook, so there are ways to do. We called it insurance. I wouldn't really call it insurance. It's more like a deposit. But it made people accountable for it. So you might want to think about things like that. Lots of districts do something along those lines. So you might want to talk to your neighboring districts. I'd be happy to tell you what we do, share with you our forms. At least have people sign something. Sometimes when they feel accountable for them. Or I've signed something, so now I'm going to hold my child more responsible. I would get the parents involved, so I'd probably maybe invite them in. When we first launched our netbooks, we had all the parents come in. You can't get them all to come in, but we had an open house on a Sunday afternoon or something. We had them all come in. We put on a presentation, what they are, what we're going to do with them, how they're going to use them, how it's going to help your child, what you can do to help your child at home. So we really got the community involved.
The question I was going to ask, I should have, you bring a good point, is if they're activated on 3G, would 3G give you any ability to handle stolen devices? I mean,
that's a question for Verizon.
I
haven't seen any documentation in my research that said that they offer that yet. And that's something we brought up to Steve sort of yesterday. He says that's been asked already by their district. So I wouldn't be surprised if something's along the way coming like that.
Your iPhone gets stolen, you can basically turn it into a brick or whatever.
Right.
So.
And you can buy full-blown laptops with software that's built into the laptop, so you activate it, or if it gets lost or stolen, then you can kind of track it down.
These have a paperclip.
But I don't think that's going to be the case. In the long run, I think if you go more to a one-to-one model, I think what most schools do is they either have the parents insure them, they're somehow responsible for them, they can buy insurance. There's a lot of third-party things I think you can do out there with having parents get insurance through them if you don't want to deal with it. Our philosophy is we buy 10% more than what we need, knowing that we're going to lose some along the way. Or a couple more students come in, you have the flexibility to upscale. If you don't have the money or the ability to do that right now, I understand that, but thinking, assuming this goes well, you're not there yet, but you're going to want to be evaluating this program as you go through it. Are these the right devices? Are we using them the right way? Are we ready to make that next step? Or when do we make that next step? And what kinds of things do we have to think about to do that? And of course, loss is always, it's going to happen. Broken screens is our biggest problem. Kids put them in the backpacks, they throw the backpack down on the floor, that U.S. history book just wham, it's right on top of it, and it cracks the screen. It's usually our biggest
Not
problem.
only kids, I'll just point that out. No,
and you know what?
The only iPad screen we've had broken yet was done at the teacher training.
Yep.
Kids have perfect records.
And we have our teachers all have laptops, and then we get several broken screens.
We've had laptops left in cars in the summer, and it's like got too hot.
And you may want to put together some documents that I would say go along to the parents or to the students at least, that proper care. Don't leave it in the car. Don't don't leave it in the lunchroom and walk away. It may be a little bit different culture down here, but in where we are, there are, and on the, but chances are, you know, when there's an opportunity there, you know, and kids are so trusting and they think that, you know, no one's going to take it.
Well, our teachers even lock the doors behind them with the laptops
Yeah.
and stuff. I mean, they.
Yeah, so you know, I don't think you want to take anything for granted, but you can easily compile a list of things like do's and don'ts, as much information as you can provide to the students, and always be talking to them and listen to the feedback that you get from the students, because you're not going to think of things that they're going to think of. You know, so how is it going? Day 1, week 1, month 1. You know, set up some forums, survey kids, talk to the kids. Bring them in as group, you know, have the kids form their own groups if they want. How can we use these better? I think kids are the most underutilized resource that we have. You know, when you take into account their opinions and their experiences and get feedback from them, they might form their own groups and, hey, kids, go find some apps that are useful for you, and then maybe some of those you incorporate into what you're doing. Because if they're engaged, they'll find a lot of stuff. They have a lot more time than we do.
Yes.
Any other questions? So how do we feel overall? If there's a lot of work to be done?
We still got more work to do, I'm afraid. I mean, our goal was to have them in kids' hands when we return from Christmas break.
I think that's gonna happen.
I just think it's practical. Unless you guys want to do a collaborized classroom, sort of a
But we can't-
bell ringer type thing. Just to,
But we can't send them out until the students have a
Yeah, we've gotta wait till the
Gmail.
students get a Gmail.
They can't use them.
that's true.
And you may want to do